The year was 1997.
Yes.
Black Isle was falling apart.
Oh, God.
So...
We're already off to a great start here. So yeah, Obsidian decided one day to make a survival horror game where you get shrunk down and you're in the backyard of some mad scientist, which sounds like Alan Tudyk. Might be Alan Tudyk.
It's probably not Alan Tudyk.
It's someone doing a really good Alan Tudyk impression, I'll say that. But what are your initial thoughts on the whole
My
thing?
initial thought was I hated it.
Yeah. Because you're like, this is not an Obsidian game. What is this?
I don't like survivor games like as a genre.
Yeah.
I don't care for them. I don't care for Rust, Subnautica, any of that, you know.
Yeah.
It's not my cup of tea. It won me over, not instantly, but overplaying it because the aesthetics are amazing. The perspective is fantastic. The
lighting, like Unreal 4 is really flexing its muscles.
I just like the cartooniness of it. The aphid looks like somebody drew a Looney Tunes character when it sees you and it does that jump up and it like stretches twice its length and then runs off. It's like
the only character that's that cartoony.
Oh yeah.
And to the point where I kind of want a aphid plushie now because of this game.
And then at the same time, everything else is a different kind of cartoon because nothing is that expressive and overly, which is fine because it's the aphid. Out of everything, it's the one thing that's not going to hurt you, but also it's the smallest thing in the game.
Yes,
and
that's true.
You need that kind of jump up thing to like catch your eye.
And when it runs away, you do have to kind of
you can lose it very quickly.
It's really fast. The thing I was a little bit proud of, and I'll show the clip right here, I immediately picked up a rock and threw it and killed it, and it really satisfying, but I also kind of feel bad for it a little bit, too.
I was in the second week of the game before I finally killed an aphid.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't really think you could?
Early on, I swung at it a few times, and the bastard was fast as hell. And then eventually, I started kind of seeing it as kind of the mascot of the game.
It is.
And
That's how I
feel. And I was like, no, he's my friend. And I left him alone. And then I read something about how you can make boots out of him, and you got really good boots. And I'm like, well, my friend is delicious. So I was in week 2 of the game before I killed an aphid.
I had to kill a bunch because that freaking robot gave me a mission to kill like 5 of them, and I was like, okay, time to pick up more rocks. This feels like killing puppies.
They're essentially little puppy bunny happy things.
Yeah.
And you killed them.
Yeah. And the thing I'm wondering, like, because we're still kind of in initial thoughts right now, is that I'm wondering how much in this early access thing is, scripted versus actual, like, systems that are in place. Because I'm like, if all the ants that exist in the game, if there's like a set number of them and they all have like their own little routines and because they seem to like walking in file in certain areas, that's probably hard coded. But then the ones that are scavenging that you find out in the wild, like somewhere, like I'll encounter ants in really weird places that are far from any anthill. And I'm like, are you a random spawn? Does this ant have like a scavenger AI attached to it where it goes off the beaten path or something? Like, it would be nice if there was like a rudimentary kind of every species of bug that you have like its own specific special kind of AI. And this early on, probably not.
I will preface this.
Okay.
By saying I do not know for a certainty. And regardless of what is true, it's well done. I think they are systems, and I don't think anything is hard scripted.
Yeah?
And I'll tell you a few reasons why.
Okay.
Number 1, with the ants, I do think that's a system. Because if you start killing about 4 worker ants, soldier ants just appear.
Oh, so
like
you aggro the whole colony somehow.
Yeah.
And then they send out soldiers to come hunt you down.
And I've seen workers in large numbers, but I've also seen just single scouts.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if if they find something good, like if I just dropped a bunch of spoiled meat in front of one ant, if I sat there for like 30 minutes, would there eventually be a bunch of ants coming to pick up the spoiled food? Would they even care about spoiled food?
Now, you see, that's the kind of thing where I'm wondering, or not wondering, but I'm kind of wanting the game to be more of like a Breath of the Wild kind of thing, where it's systems within systems kind of thing.
I think even there, it's... Because I went looking around on the subreddit for the game, because I want to see what other players are having. And I also watched all of the developer vlogs from Obsidian to also try to figure out stuff. And they don't talk about animal behavior.
Okay.
So that also makes me think it's more system-based, because...
Like, you're not putting it near any kind of spawns, so it's not going to work for you if it's not spawning the thing that it's specifically for.
Perhaps I put it too close to a spider nest, and everything's like, that smells good, but man, fuck that.
Yeah, because there could be a danger system involved too, because that seems to be another thing, is that if you try to lure things over to spiders, sometimes it works, sometimes they break off really quickly.
Well, again, I'm going to say that goes back to my thought that there are systems.
Right.
Because every animal seems to behave differently. It doesn't feel like they behave uniformly the same.
No.
The orb weavers, they're super territorial. They will aggro you the moment they see you in their territory, but you run, I'm not even talking like 20 yards.
Oh, they'll break off.
They give up and they go right back to where they were.
It seems like, because I did watch one for a while, it seems like they do have a routine over the course of the day. They'll build some webs,
but I've never seen them build an actual web, so I don't think they do. But they do put those little...
The orb weaver will put up their little funnels, their web funnels
on stuff.
Yeah,
and I think they're traps.
Okay.
I've never walked through them because I've never killed all of the spinners there.
Yeah,
and then had them to walk through and be like, let me see if that's safe.
And the thing is that it's very early on in the development of the game, and it's really cool to see that they've programmed little behaviors into them that makes them unique from other creatures. And the thing is that I watched the Orb Weaver for a while. I didn't see it catch anything, but it would be really nice if every so once in a while, like an ant or an aphid or something went over to it, you saw it kind of like jiggle around in the web trying to get out, and you see the Orb Weaver go over and it's like, ooh, a little snack. And like, that would actually be a way to distract one. Like, I would love to be able to throw a rock at its little funnel trap and then see it walk away, and then I can run past it because it's like, ooh, I caught something. Actually, I'll tell you what my favorite thing in the whole game is, and it never gets old. I love when you see grass in the distance parting, either towards you or away from you. Because when it's away from you, you're just like, what the fuck is that? It's a T-Rex. It doesn't want to be fed. It wants to hunt. But then, like, there's also the moments where something's coming towards you, and you're like, what the fuck is that? What it? And then it's a ladybug, and you're like, oh, thank Christ.
I love spiders. The Orb Weavers are fun combat challenges.
Yes.
I spent about an hour save load in front of one.
Just to learn how to block?
To learn that perfect blocking to fight the damn thing.
Yeah.
It was tedious.
But you felt rewarded.
I got better at it, and they're so easily telegraphed. Of all the bugs I fought, their attack is the most telegraphed and easy to time. Like, anyone who's listening, if you want to get better at doing that, save right in front of a Orbs Weaver and just go over there and aggro the fucker. Try to do it on even ground and try to do it with, like, no fucking obstructions. Clovers are the worst for combat.
Yes.
The other thing I love about spiders is the wolf spider. Its fucking behavior is
how aggressive it is, and
fucking terrifying.
There's also the people online who think that's a bug, that it's so aggressive. It
might be a bug, and it might not be a bug. And regardless of whether it's a bug or not, just like I don't care if it's hard scripting for the animals or if it's systems behaving, it's well done. Same thing here. If it's awake and you're in its area of influence, it'll just keep coming at you.
Like a
no matter
Terminator.
how far
Yeah.
you go, it won't turn back like the orb weavers will and stay in one area. It'll keep following you. And if you lose it and like double back somewhere else, it'll just turn and follow the path that you've been taking. It's not aggressive. It's just always right there, right behind you.
It's like, I know you're here somewhere.
It's always like hunting you. It's like a persistent hunting thing. If you fucking sprint like a mad fucking
Oh, yeah.
loony, it'll eventually outdistance it, like its targeting area, and it'll just disappear or go back wherever. So it'll stop. But if you're just like, oh, I'll live and let live, and you walk somewhere else, he'll walk around and come right to you.
Yes.
Like...
Yeah, I especially learned that at the tree because they have that root system.
They do.
And I was thinking, because of other video games, you break line of sight, the thing disengages. That is true for every other bug.
Every other bug in the game.
Except for the wolf spider.
It'll keep coming.
And you know what? I enjoy that too, for the reason of, it's interesting that there's one very, very specific thing in the game that actually hunts you.
Yes.
It feels like there's a predator on the level with you. And the thing is that I'm okay with it just being the one species that does that. Because if everything was actively aggressive towards you,
it'd be
all
frustrating.
The time, it'd be super frustrating. But the fact that the wolf spider is kind of the king of the jungle, like that's the panther. That's the panther that's in the bushes waiting for you. And you can kind of go toe to toe with an ant, but like the goddamn wolf spider, that'll hunt you down.
The ant's strength is when you fuck with its worker line. Because when they send a half dozen, 10 fucking soldiers at you, that is just as difficult as a wolf spider.
It seems like if there's a witness, that's kind of how they're doing that, because I've killed scouts and I haven't been hunted by soldiers.
This is what I think, based only on my experience of fucking around with ants. I think there's a number, and then there's like a wanted system.
Like invisible to the player?
Yeah, because you kill one worker, you're right. Unless another worker saw it, there's no repercussion. And if another worker saw it, if there's 3 workers, it's only like the one that saw you that comes at you. Like, they don't all gang up on you. And it's fun.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I want them to know, if anybody from there, like, if they ever see this, I like that the wolf spider is like a hunter.
Yeah.
When you enter his territory, he hunts you. I like that the ants are aware of their workers, and then if you kill them, they'll be like, we're gonna send someone after you, man. The fact that we anthropomorphize and give character and personality to the ants and the spiders and stuff, and I'm like, if all of that is an accident, they need to make that on purpose, and they need to add more behaviors, because I'm like, I want more of the animals to be like, oh, I did this, which led to this reacting to me in this way.
What I would love, and I don't know if it's a thing because of how... I wish there was more behaviors on these things.
Right.
If you aggroed a wolf spider and that fucker was following you, and you went into an ant colony,
the anthill protects you.
if the soldiers would fight the wolf spider, I would love that. There's ways to get the bugs to fight each other. It almost always involves just having one of them accidentally hit the other one.
It's incidental. It always is.
And I would rather it be something where if I use a lure and it brings 2 different kinds of things, they attack. Or if, like, because the orb weavers are so territorial, if I got a wolf spider into the orb weavers, why aren't the 2 spiders fighting? Like,
or if you could craft pheromones, like, I know you can find glands of certain things. Imagine if you could walk past spiders because you rubbed, like, spider juice all over yourself or something. Like, you did a thing, you got a spider to attack a ladybug because you were taking a ride on top of one.
yes.
And I was able to get a stink bug and a orb weaver to fight because we were fighting each other. The orb weaver was just kind of observing. He was walking by, and then he sent out the AoE stink bug attack, and the spider was like, oh, you're dead now. And I watched them both fight. And I'm like, there needs to be more ways to get this to happen.
Yeah.
Like, on purpose. Because
Lean
I feel
into it. Be like where you got big daddies to fight splicers, you know?
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about shit the game needs, there was a moment when I climbed up something really tall, and it looked like it was a small little boulder that was perched on top of another smaller boulder, okay? And it looked like with a push, you could just push that top boulder down on this. It was a spider that chased me up there.
Right.
And I was like,
Indiana Jones, that guy.
Why wouldn't that be a thing? Like, because another thing I absolutely love about the game, it's something I love about the Thief series, or at least the first 2 Thief games, and that is that you never feel entirely safe. You are the weakest thing in that game. You're the weakest thing in this game.
Yeah.
Like, as far as combat goes, because, like, weevils and aphids never attack you, but everything else does more damage than you.
Always.
And takes more damage than you. And I love that feeling of being small, helpless. And
so you gotta use your brain.
And I want that to be a thing, because I know I've seen so many videos as I was just looking up stuff, and I was like, I know there's people who have timed their weapon of choice, because every weapon seems to swing at a certain speed and block at a certain speed, and learning that for each weapon takes a little bit of practice, but once you got that, I've seen people just go Goku and be like, they have Ultra Instinct now.
Yeah.
And
like nothing can hit them now.
Yeah, I've seen people just solo fighting wolf spiders, and all they do is like perfect block, and they just counter each perfect block.
And if you made like almost like a boss character, or even like just stuff in the world where it's like you can, if you use your axe and cut this little log that's holding this thing back, you could crush something with a boulder, or you could release like the water physics in the game. Like if you could release like water on a certain part of the yard or something and drown.
There's a sprinkler.
Yeah, there is a sprinkler. It'd be cool if you could like release a whole bunch of water somehow on like a whole bunch of enemies that are following you, and you can like wash them away or drown them or something. Like little events that you could do in the world that are. I mean, you can do literally anything you want.
I tried to drown a spider once.
Right.
Didn't work.
You tried to lure it into the water?
I lured it into the water.
Oh, it doesn't die.
It went underwater, and it just stayed there trying to attack me underwater.
So there is no behavior for if the spider's underwater.
There's no, like, breath mechanic or anything. They can't die down there. And I was like, because how I got him to do it was I figured out through accident, if you jump off of a cliff into water, the spider's not going to follow you. Because it's like, oh, there he goes. But if you're gliding, it'll do a Suicide Man jump to hit you.
Whoa.
Every time. I did it 3 times. That happened. So if I jump and start gliding, it'll just hit you right in the air. Whereas if I just jumped off of something, it would just stop. Okay, so when I knew that, I have a base. It's called Camp Weaver. I had a base there up in the north by the oak tree. And right by that big lake of water, I jumped, used the stalk, it hit me. I could take the hit because I had full health, and I'm like, fuck you. It fell into the water, and I was like, and now you die, scum. And it just stayed down there.
Yeah, that's definitely something that needs to be fixed.
And I'm like, I knew something about the game. I knew that they jump at you if you're floating. They don't jump at you if you just jump. I knew I could lure it into the water. I was not rewarded for knowing any of these things, and it just sat down there because it stayed there for days. Because my camp was right there, so like I just looked at it every now and then. Just
there he is.
Yeah, it stayed down there until it moved. It tried to move back to where its base is. It's, where it wants to be. It went underneath a rock, and then eventually it just popped back to where it's supposed to be.
Interesting.
And I'm like,
you had already. Now the question I have is that did you sleep in between? And it was still down there. Like, did you go back and... So, that's an interesting thing. The world doesn't reset when you sleep. I assumed it did.
I'm certain things reset.
Yeah. Like water does. Like the dewdrops and everything.
But the spider was so close to where it's supposed to be anyway.
Uh-huh.
And I think part of the reason was I would move out, like I would go do something, come back, and I would sleep and everything. That's how it went from underwater to under a rock and then eventually back to where it was supposed to be. That was the first spider I killed. Because then I lured him back towards my base again, and I killed him right at my base.
Gotcha.
And his head is on my friggin' wall. That's why. That's why
you have that.
I named it
Weaver.
Camp Weaver.
Yeah.
The oak tree needs work.
Yes.
Because it's the central area of the map. And it's also where the main lab is, and it's where the only NPC is. Why the shit is it covered in spiders?
I don't know. I don't know why there's a huge spider nest right next to it.
There's one underneath the tree.
Yes.
And then dotted around the tree, there's orb weaver nests.
There's orb weavers everywhere. That little central, there's like this little circular cavern thing that's in the root system. Yeah. Or if you walk into it, and they lure you in. They lure you into that area with the, there's a sap cluster that you can break apart with your hammer. And then you turn around and there's 2 wolf spiders just standing there. I hate that. I thought you guys wanted me to explore this area. You've made it the most hostile in the entire game, other than the blueberry bush.
Which I'm fine with the blueberry bush being...
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It's out of the way, you have to get to it. You have to swim across a fucking lake to get to it.
Yeah, the oak tree, I have no idea why there's so many.
Right there where... There is no hub area. But he's a shop. The only NPC is a shop. You turn in your raw science to get stuff from him.
And he has an analyzer that you can use anytime.
That's the closest thing to a hub you could ask for in this game.
Exactly.
And it's covered with the only high-level enemy in the game. Yeah. There needs to be ways to deal with these things other than just Twitch reaction. Because, oh my god. Yeah, this game has so many accessibility features for, like, colorblind and arachnophobia and all this stuff, and it's wonderful. The monsters you fight, you have to have really good reflexes to be able to go toe-to-toe with them. Otherwise, you're peppering them for fucking ever with arrows.
Yeah.
Like, the arrows do no damage. It's like fucking insults at them.
If you could lure them into traps, if you can lure
outwit the monsters. That would be so fucking fun.
There's also the other thing that you wanted.
Oh.
I kept waiting for you to, and I'm like, okay, I'll just remind him.
I loved the verticality. Because early on, again, you feel very weak and underpowered compared to everybody else. Early on, the best way to get around, other than just mad sprinting...
Walk on top of clovers.
Climb.
Yeah.
Climbing is important. Verticality is important. Spiders can drop on you from places.
Oh, that's the worst, yeah.
So why is the reticle right in the center of the screen?
It should be lower.
There's this great friggin' video, late night gaming. It's called "The Clever Reason Why Halo and Destiny's Reticle is, lower than it is than normal."
Yeah.
For all of their problems as a company, Bungie has always understood first-person games. They made the first-person shooter on console work, and it worked gorgeously.
Not the first, but the first time to make it.
Well, yeah, the first one that worked. Like,
GoldenEye fans, we're calling you out right now.
I played GoldenEye. It was an auto-targeting nightmare. And the only reason people had good memories of it was the only first-person shooter that worked.
Yeah, you can't say it was good when it was all you had.
Yeah, it's like you're listening to your great-grandmother. We ate acorn bread and we were happy about it. No, you weren't. You just hadn't had refined sugar.
We had a hole in our roof. No, you just had no ceiling. That was.
We were happy.
No,
we got to see the stars.
That's GoldenEye fans.
Yeah. Halo has a window to look outside to see the stars.
Depression-era grandmothers talking about how first-person shooters were so great because you could aim, finally.
So, in Halo 2, as this guy's video, who we're going to link to because he did a fantastic video, the reticle went from in the center in Halo Combat Evolved
to about 2/3 down.
About a third of the screen down. The lower third of the screen now has that reticle. I don't even know if at the time I noticed, to be honest with you, as a kid.
I don't think so. I don't think I noticed.
And when I was watching the guy's video, he spent a lot of time with that footage, and he was talking about how it opens up the screen. It lets you see up above more. And I was listening to what he said, and it wasn't that I disagreed with him or that I needed to be convinced. But when he cut to Halo 5, where 343 has put the reticle right back in the center of the screen again, it is an immediate feeling of claustrophobia.
It's jarring, yeah.
Playing this game, I kept coming back to that guy's video, and I'm like, if they lowered the reticle down to the bottom third, they would have to, of course, like, redo the positioning of all the weapons. Like, the bow's going to have to look a little bit different that way, but that's fine. That's just a simple thing to do. Simple. It would open up the skybox. It would open up being able to look for dew on the leaves. It would open up being able to see that sometimes orb weavers are in their fucking spider, webs.
I'm also looking at it from their perspective, and they may have even had a meeting about this too. And I could see a case being made where it's like, well, we want it to be claustrophobic
because you're tiny.
Yeah,
I get that.
But the thing I will say is that I feel like lowering the reticle would help them in this way. It would definitely increase the amount of feeling of I am the smallest thing in this world.
Because the blades of grass would take up more screen time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that to see the top of the blades of grass, you gotta look straight up anyway.
Yeah.
They're already really big. I don't even think lowering the reticle would even get rid of that aspect.
No.
I think you would still feel like, I'm surrounded, I'm tiny, I'm weak, I need to get out of here.
Of all my suggestions, and any more that I'm going to drop as we continue recording, if anyone at Obsidian's listening, this is the easiest one to implement, and I think it would have the most bang for your buck to implement. Give it a test. Lower it to the bottom third, just like the, Bungie does, and let people play with it. They'll hate it at first because everyone hates change. But but it's early access. The whole thing's supposed to be in flux.
I'll make one suggestion on how they can get people to maybe try it out. Make it the default. You can go into options and you can set it back if you want, because you can also change your field of view.
Yeah.
And I feel like
I didn't even touch that because
No.
I feel like the field of view is perfect.
I think it's perfect too.
It's so limiting and it's so tiny.
But I feel like if we're able to change the perspective from first to third, and we're able to change our field of view on both console and on PC, I feel like the reticle placement, lower or higher, should also be a choice too, because I don't feel like the game would lose anything.
I think it would only benefit.
I think so too, but I understand that they want players to have the choice.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you make it an option, I would turn that option on immediately. For me, I would like to have that, because I know that they're asking for feedback, and I am in love with this game. I did not expect that. I expected to hate the shit out of this game. To be completely honest,
this game went against my better judgment and my bias against it, and it won me over. I love the game.
I would say like little, and these are like little things, but like the trail markers that you can put up.
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier. I wish you could name them. I do feel like fast travel would break the type of game that they're making, so I wouldn't ask for that, but I would at least ask that if I can put up these trail markers everywhere, not only do I want them to appear on my little the scabby, the little wristwatch thing, I want them to show up on the map, and I want to be able to see them, on the screen on my HUD and everything, but I want to name them. Like, I want to know, the one I'm looking at is like, okay, that's my house. This one is Spider City, if I want to just name an area Spider City. Or the Mite Cave, because there are a lot of good landmarks in the game. I was really happy. Like, there's the baseball, there's the mint thing, the mint container, there's the juice boxes. Like, they're big. You notice them. You can't not notice them. Other things, like, obviously, like UI things, but that's every game early on. Like, the UI is going to be a little jank. On the console especially, I would like a quick select menu. I know that the hot buttons...
Hot Pocket?
The Hot Pocket?
Is that what it's called?
We keep calling it the Hot Pocket.
It's something
That's not what it is, but we keep calling it the Hot Pocket.
Something very similar. It's like Quick Pocket.
Something?
It's something very similar to
But
Hot Pocket.
I associate it with hotkeys and... a special, item pocket, and I've just combined those into Hot Pocket now, and I don't know
It's just a radial menu.
How do you bring up the radial right now? Is it left stick?
It's the left bumper.
Left bumper?
They tried to make it very streamlined, but I would rather you just use the D-pad to scroll over and use, because Jesus Christ, that would be easy.
I would like that as an option, or when you're in the radial menu, moving the right stick and then clicking the right stick is how you select.
I didn't even figure it out myself, but
Right.
watching the developer videos told me this. The Hot Pocket system is actually really freaking cool because you can set, and it comes with defaults, but all of it can be set. Each individual thing, you can either set it to a specific kind of thing, like My green smoothies are always going to be in the 7th position.
Oh,
okay?
okay.
It can be very specific, or it can be very general, where you're like, healing items will be in 7. So
Okay.
anytime you pick up a healing item,
No matter what it is.
or like if you're picking up your corpse to put all your stuff back, your Hot Pocket menu bar, whatever the fuck it's called, would automatically fill out like you want.
Well, I did notice that at first when you're building stuff, it will put them in very specific spots. Like when you build your first tool and weapon, those will go in their own spots, and it seems like it'll always go in those.
Because they have it to general tool weapon. But I think if they just communicated that stuff better, it wouldn't have upsetted you. Because knowing this stuff, if we went right back to the game and you set up your toolbar the way you want, you're going to be able to do it much faster and more fluidly.
I'm telling you right now, without even doing it, I know it would. I know it would work better. My problem is that I would have liked a little bit of an early thing where something is telling you, build an axe, build a healing item, and build a, the lean-to thing. Those should be the first 3 things you do. Build an axe. Okay, I can build an axe now. Now you can cut things down. You can make a band-aid, because you should maybe start the game hurt, maybe? You gotta first off get healing. And then it's like, the sun's going down, make a lean-to. And then I feel like within those 3 things that you make, it would have you go through the inventory screen, the crafting screen. It would make you set up your radio menu, because it'll say, put your tool here, put your healing item here. This is where all of the things that you're collecting are going in your pouch for your inventory. And then when you build the lean-to, it'll be like, you can now set your spawn point and you can sleep until the next day. And I feel like if you got certain things like that out of the way at first, I would be fine. Because the game doesn't even tell you that you have to sleep.
I hate disagreeing with you.
That's not true.
But I think it also makes for better listening if I disagree with you, but I disagree with you pretty hard. Let me tell you something about the beauty of this game.
Okay.
I know some people, it really is, and to me, it's taxing.
Right.
The first, I played it for 3 hours the first time I did it, like in one sitting.
Yeah.
And I had to stop because it was like exhausting. I loved that. I loved being turned loose into a world, and I feel like they give you enough. When you walk by water for the first time, it's a literal HUD element that points out what water is. Beautiful. You told me, hey, water sometimes is up and leaves.
Yeah.
I think you can communicate that better in gameplay by having the reticle lower, but I don't need someone to come in and say, hey, collect 7 drops of water so you know how to collect water. I'm fine not having that.
Okay.
I also am fine not knowing to create a lean-to, because it tells you that too. Up in the top left, there's a list of ongoing quests. It'll tell you to build a lean-to.
No, I know.
It doesn't tell you how to do that.
That's true.
And I love that. I love how for the first 2 days I was playing the game, it told me to make a marker for the oak tree. I didn't know where the hell that was or how to do that. And then, when randomly playing, I found it and I went, you're the spot! I love that act of discovery.
So what I would suggest is that you have those tooltips more specific for certain things. Like, I feel like the radio menu needs to be explained with tooltips a little bit better. Because all it tells you, and I'm fairly certain of this, all it tells you is that items from your inventory are easily accessed by the radio menu. And I believe that is the only thing it ever tells you about the radio menu.
It may very well be. Because I knew nothing about it until I watched a video.
Neither did I. And I'm not asking for a tutorial that is a separate part of the world that you're locked into for a little while. I believe you should do it through gameplay, similar to like how like a recent game I can think of was Doom Eternal. Every time that it had you do something, it was just the natural order of things. You know which guns you have. When you get a second gun, it says, this is how you select your guns, you know? When you get a chainsaw, it'll tell you, the chainsaw is mapped to this button. And I feel like you can do that with this game. You can make the tooltips very intuitive without it being a full-scale, and now we're going to have class. and you're going to learn how to play this game. I agree with you. The exploration is part of it. The self-discovery is part of it. And the thing is that if you're an experienced player and that kind of stuff even bothers you, even though it doesn't take you completely out of the game, you can turn off tooltips in the options, I'm pretty sure. So it's like, I just want more tooltips, not a whole lot more, but I want them to be about things that you really should know early on, and I feel like they should be more specific. As far as starting points go, I want more behaviors added to the game for the animals. I want more bugs to be added, more species. I want more critters added. It would be cool to have, like, I think you were saying, like, frogs and stuff like that.
Let me tell you 2 words. It'll change your life.
Oh, God.
Praying mantis.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be awesome?
Wouldn't that be great for that 50s science fiction aesthetic too?
Oh, just to also have the friggin', the Godzilla moment where it's like, let them fight, or you just have them fight each other. Like a praying mantis versus a huntsman.
I want more rewards for creativity and wits. I would love that to be done with physical stuff, like having a physics engine where you can push stuff, and momentum and objects have weight and damage applied to them. I would like more and better traps. I would like these things so that you don't have to be a Twitch gamer to really tear apart a spider.
Yeah, I also want weapons to have more effects that they can do. Maybe if you just separate bugs into a heavy and light armor type of like situation, just to vary up the combat a little bit, because once you get really, really good at perfect blocks, the game is such a non-issue at that point, like combat. And I'm like, I would just like combat to just be more varied. If I could fight something and then get its attention and then lure it over to a trap, and then after it has a trap, like if one of its legs is now damaged or something and now it can't move as much, then pepper it with arrows or something. Like,
if spiders and ants could lose limbs, and that would have changed their locomotion.
And that happens in real life to them all the time. And
yeah.
I'm like, and I know for a fact Unreal 4 supports that type of system. And the thing is that decapitation of humans would raise the rating, but not for animals and like, bugs. The final thing about something in the game that maybe can be improved or maybe you want changed.
And I'll say one final thing about something that's great.
I will do the same. Something that you would like to see changed or improved.
Travel.
Like just travel.
I want more travel options. I want the crafting and acquiring of things to drastically change the game. Right now you can get a dandelion stalk thing to float a little bit.
Oh, the glider. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the gliding all that much.
And I like that.
Yeah.
But that opens up thoughts in my head where I'm like, we could use spider silk to do it. Or maybe we can do full-on Bug's Life and create like a flying bird.
Oh, I was thinking like if you could build a catapult and if you can launch yourself up over the map and then you could
glide the rest of the way.
Because the thing is that only works one way. You can't fast travel back, so you have to walk back.
But as the game goes on, and because this is true about the game as it is right now, the game gets easier because you acquire better stuff.
Exactly.
The size of the map becomes more manageable because you can now get up top of the tree and glide over here or throw yourself over here. I would love that. I know some people are asking for mounts. That's the same kind of thought where it's like, yeah, you're talking about something that you can be acquired. Give me an aphid fucking pet. I would love that.
Oh, I would love to have an aphid pet.
That would be fun. It's all fun. I'm fine with that. But mechanically, you put in a glider. It's useful only very sparingly when you get up very high and you jump and it just breaks your fall so you don't get damaged.
Okay.
I would love to be able to actually travel more.
Okay. As far as something I would add or change or improve, okay, this is something that you're going to have to agree with me on because we both expressed great frustration at this. When you have been pummeling something and peppering it with arrows, and then for whatever reason you went out of its area of influence and you de-aggroed it, and you go to fight it again because you want to finish it off, and it is suddenly at full health again. You did not leave, the thing did not despawn, you had it on your screen the whole time, but for some reason, like 90% of the time, because sometimes I've been able to re-engage and it did have all the damage, most of the time though, it heals back up to full health and I have no idea why.
I saw a video about this.
Really?
On Reddit. Someone was fighting something and I think it was a spider, and its eyes went from red
to black
combat to it doesn't see you, its health grows so incredibly quickly.
So it heals?
It heals. It rapid heals.
That is so dumb.
The moment aggro is dropped.
Like, I would understand if it was like, I want to go back to my place and get some, supplies and then come back and then it's healed some or something. But I've literally been fighting something for like 5 solid minutes, and I would just go to like re-equip another weapon or something because my weapon broke or something.
Yeah.
And come back. It's fully healed.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I would like to know the reason.
I would like to know the reason.
Because I feel the frustration is higher than any possible reason I can think of. Okay.
So we've done wish lists. We've done like some of our gripes and some of our issues with the game. Obviously, we're not calling these like game breaking like things like I wouldn't want to play it anymore. But something that you're gonna take away from the game that you really really loved.
Crafting.
You really love the crafting.
I want to talk about the crafting because I feel.
Okay.
I feel this is a good step in the right direction in a lot of. Okay, look, a lot of games have crafting.
Yeah.
And most of them are crap.
It's all crap, yeah.
And I feel like this one gets crafting better
than most.
And I'm going to tell you why, and it seems almost hypocritical.
Oh, okay.
It's done so well because there's so few pieces.
Like so few ingredient types.
You have sap, fibers, stone, and you have these sprigs,
and then,
which is essentially wood.
And then everything else is just like animal parts.
Everything else is flavoring. I almost said animal parts in my head,
right?
But it's not animal parts.
Okay.
Because that's flavoring. Because the other thing is blades of grass or blades of weed.
Things that you can't carry in your pack, but you have to physically carry.
So
yeah.
You have, it's like 4 core ingredients.
Right.
And then everything else is sprinklings. You want to make ant armor? You need ant pieces. You want to make a wall out of weeds? You're going to need weeds. Right. But you're also going to need fiber, because fiber is very smartly used. It's something you turn into rope, and that's now the twine roping thing for anything that you're doing.
Right.
So, very few core pieces, which are super plentiful, and everything else is super specific. You need clover for the rooftops. That's the sprinkling of that. Even saying this, there's too many sprinklings
of
bug pieces and the grass types and everything. I would like it simplified even more.
Really? Okay.
Because
I can see that for the bug pieces, because one type of bug can have 4 different types of pieces. Mandibles, there's heads, there's shells.
I would still like to see that simplified more.
Okay. I like the world that they're building. I like the beginnings of what I see the shape of the story being. There's like a mad scientist. We're a bunch of like neighbor kids or something, and we got stuck in this whole bigger plot, and it's...
I think he's had financial problems, and he's hiring middle schoolers.
Something, yeah.
I think.
I get a little bit of a Cave Johnson feeling off of him. This is like Cave Johnson light. But the thing, as much as as much as the world itself, like, because there's no real lore yet, as much as the world has started to bring me in, the thing that has kept me, though, is the sense of accomplishment and reward anytime I do anything. Anytime I discover a new piece, it's like, now you can analyze those things and find out other stuff you can make. I'm like, very cool. And then you go and you analyze and you find those recipes, and you're like, oh, I'm going to need these pieces. Then you get to hunt for those pieces. And then in the looking for those pieces, it's like, you got to kill these things. And I'm like, okay, that's another new thing I get to do. And then when you finally get to the point where you can kill some of the things, start punching upward a little bit, you'll discover even more pieces of things and more recipes, and it'll be like, go analyze these. Now you can have armor. I wasn't
spider armor.
I know. I wasn't even expecting to have armor in general.
Hyper stamina,
which is something that you can make in a potion, but also have in armor.
It's only the spider armor has.
Yeah. But the fact that there was armor, weapons, tools, crafting, And then building. I didn't know there was building in the game. Like, I thought that this
You went in mostly blind.
I went in...
I knew more going in.
I was expecting half of, like, a 76 kind of thing. And do you know the thing that surprised me the most? The ways that it's not like Fallout, and then the ways that it's not like 76 are the reason why I like it. I like how colorful it is. I like that I feel like this world is not mine to tame, but mine to kind of become more a part of and to learn. I can go into an area, I can find a new bug or new thing to look at, because there's always either a landmark or a new species or a new area. I know at first we were thinking that there weren't other biomes, but like there's like bushes and underbrush that you can go into. There's like a desert type area where all the plants are dead because there's a cloud of pesticide and stuff. There's a jungle area. There's like more
There's
of like
definitely a swamp area.
There's a swamp area. Like,
it is full of ants.
And those were the things from Fallout that I was like, oh man, it would be so great if they had this. And then how happy I was when I'm like, you have all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff that I don't like about these other survival type games. And I love how scary everything is, but I also like that there's something I can do. If something seems insurmountable, I just have to think my way around it. And the game encourages you to do that.
Until it doesn't. You can't drown a spider.
You can't drown a spider, but that's the thing, is that doesn't mean that they can't add that. That's the exciting thing about these early release games, because people are like, oh, isn't it suck when people release things that are beta? And I'm like, well, when they tell you that it's beta, and they tell you that we want feedback, like the feedback button is right there on the start screen, you know? Like, it's, tell us how to make a better game, tell us the game you want. I like that. And that's the whole point of like doing this video. I also want to kind of thank them, because I didn't expect this game at all. I heard about it like a week or two ago, and then when I heard the premise of the game, I was like, oh, that's fucking stupid. That's so stupid.
That was me a year ago.
Yeah.
When it was announced, and I was like, Obsidian, they just got bought by Microsoft. That's troubling, but maybe they'll have a budget and do a good RPG game. Their new first game under Microsoft, it's a live service survival game? Fuck you.
But then you go to play it and you're just like, this is a world that we're building together, and you know, like, tell us what you want, and tell us what you want fixed, and tell us the things that, you know, like that you like, that maybe you want more of, because like you were saying, the crafting, I'm sure there's some people out there that don't like the crafting.
No, they probably want it more complicated.
They probably want it more complicated.
I want it simpler even than it is now.
I don't want it more complicated or less complicated. I just want more stuff. Final thoughts for anybody thinking about checking this game. Who is this game for? It
is for, as very, very politely as I can say it.
Okay.
It's for people who like survival games, and it's for people who like live service games who aren't already married to other live service games.
So you're not telling anybody to jump ship, but you are telling people that if they like the idea of a game like this,
and they're currently not playing any other game,
maybe check this out. At least.
Because
it's not a full price game either.
No, it's $30. But there's not a shit ton of content.
Not yet.
There's 2 story missions. They're over really, really quickly. So you're not getting much. You're going to get like 2 hours of story, and the rest of it's going to be the persistent world state, grind, build, and all that. And that's great. It's fun. But it's not exceptional enough to where if you already have something that has hours of content and that you've already put hours into and built stuff up, it's not enough to jump ship. I have hopes. I'm so optimistic because I have hopes.
I think it's worth it just for a $30 game, because I'm like, as it stands right now, it's pretty damn good for an early build, I think. So
proof of concept, vertical slice. To me, I'm like, keep an eye on it.
Well, thanks for watching this video. I don't know how long the video is for you. On my end, I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like I'm going to be cutting down 2.5 hours of recording from me and Timmy to you guys. Thanks for listening, and hope to see you on the next video.